models for government. I spend a lot of time thinking about processes within government, and I've come to this conclusion. We're disadvantaged in government because we don't have a profit motive. At the end of the day, when you do things in an excellent way, as you do in your businesses, you get to keep a reward, treat your family, do the things that you want to do to fulfill your dreams. In government, it doesn't work that way. As we all know, it's a perverse incentive to do well almost. I say almost. What we do have is a best practices obligation. And let me give you an example of that, although this may bother some in the room. I recently found out, a few years ago, found out that the Surgery Center of Oklahoma, which is in Oklahoma City at Brighton Road, Broadway, will do a certain surgery, outpatient surgery, let's say rotator cuff surgery, for $4,000. Well, across town, at the big institutional hospitals, that same surgery by the same surgeon on the same day is over $20,000. Now, some of you could perhaps enlighten me as to what the divergence is, but most of us understand the difference between $4,000 and $20,000+. And it's even more extreme as a percentage when you look at some of the other surgeries, such as cochlear implants, over $130,000 versus like $30,000. Those are big differences. Well, what can the state of Oklahoma do? Well, the state of Oklahoma, which by the way has, according to their systems operators, the most generous health benefits of any state in the United States. That's quite a statement. They're very good, and I'm glad they're good for the state employees, the hardworking employees I call my colleagues. But the question is, how can we make a system or take advantage of the system? Well, we look to the county commissioner of Oklahoma County, and they have incentivized their employees to choose an option, kind of with no copay and no deductible, and go to the Surgery Center of Oklahoma. It is saving the county of Oklahoma millions of dollars. Why can't the state do that? Well, because it's prohibited by law. And we all know we do live under the rule of law, or we try very hard to abide by the law. Well, I'm attempting to get the law changed to incentivize state employees to have less out-of-pocket expenses, to take advantage of this anomaly within the marketplace. Same surgeon, same day, same operation. Now, when I presented this idea to a state senator, he said, well, what about the big institutional hospitals that have to pick up this, that are otherwise getting the $15,000 differential? And I said, this is a win for the taxpayers. It's a win for the state employees. That is not the problem of the state of Oklahoma, to be overly concerned about inefficiencies of large hospitals, as an example. So I advocate that we do the right thing and copy the best practice. Let me give you another example. I mentioned this at the executive session. When I came into government, before I sought public office, I was never concerned about workers' compensation. 25 years, never a claim. We were a software company. It didn't affect me, but it affected the entire state of Oklahoma. To be paying $2.52, $2.62 for what Arkansas was paying $1. I went to Arkansas with a couple of friends of mine. We sat down with the commissioners who had reformed their system 25 years ago. And I found out that Governor Jim Guy Tucker and the Democrats took the worst system in the country 25 years ago to where today it is the exemplary system. So let me go over that. Governor Jim Guy Tucker, before he went to jail for corruption, and the Democrats fixed it. So I said, what's wrong with the Republicans in this state who had professed for decades to be pro-business, Well, I further checked into it and found out that we had in Oklahoma an adversarial system, a lawyer-up system, that sue each other into oblivion type system, which was highly inefficient. It was primarily the result of one person who had been in state office for over half a century, and that was the late Gene Stubb. Now, I did not go to McAllister to his funeral, but I did send a note saying that I approved of it. That's an old joke by Mark Twain. So, God rest his soul. But the point is, because of one person seeking special interest from the public purse, or one party, or one ideology, or a set of trial lawyers seeking money at the expense of the rest of society is a very bad public policy, it is bad politics, and it disables Oklahoma from being competitive. So I, in my naivete, formed a nonprofit. And the name of the nonprofit was designed to win new friends within the legal community. The name of the nonprofit was called Workers' Comp, Not Lawyers' Comp. We need an administrative system. I formed that in December of 2010. I went to some of the, I guess, the more knowledgeable, smarter people in state government than myself, and I go, well, that's a nice kid, but that's never going to work. It is all kind of kid. But they said, that's nice, that's just never going to work. Well, you know what? It did work. And the reason it worked is because we could sit and look across the border into Arkansas and say, they fixed it, and they were, you know, the corrupt governor and the Democrats fixed it. Why can't we fix it? And the good news is, eventually, because of the coalition that was developed in this state, between chambers and business people, manufacturers, common sense-oriented activists, who said this is not right. We need a level playing field. We need